even the New York Times acknowledges this, that among undecided voters in polls and groups, focus groups, and so on, a Reuters group. Reuters is not a conservative news organization. In fact, if something is really a news organization, it is by definition not on the left. They're no longer news organizations, tragically. So, according to Reuters, the winner of the debate was Donald Trump. I don't think he did a particularly good job, but she spoke fluently, but she said nothing. And the Abraham Lincoln insight is applicable here. You can fool some of the people all of the time, all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. The left has fooled some of the people all of the time. I think the corker of the debate was that he is racially divisive. I can't even think of an analogy. It's like the criminal charging the innocent with the crime that the criminal committed. Yeah, that would be a perfect analogy. The left has racially divided this country for political gain, and some ideologically because they hate the country, and when people get along, it annoys them terribly, deeply disturbs them. Look at the percentage of blacks and the percentage of whites who thought black-white relations were good and constantly improving before Barack Obama became president. It's difficult to overstate the damage Barack Obama did to the United States of America. But he had a likable personality, and he was bright, and that's enough for the left. After all, they thought John F. Kennedy Jr. was something special. May he rest in peace. If you're good-looking and you speak well, the left goes crazy for you. It's not a deep world. That's correct. Anyway, that's what the focus group said. And the reason was they said she was just too vague. And because they, quote, trusted, unquote, Trump more on the economy. Reuters reported. Reuters interviewed 10 people who were still unsure about how they were going to vote. Listen, this is not exactly science when you interview 10 people, but I'm just reporting to you. Reuters thought it was worthy of reporting. 6 said afterward that they would now either vote for Trump or were leaning toward backing him. 3 said they would now back Harris, and 1 was still unsure about how he would vote. 5 said they found Harris vague. Vague? Harris vague? I think it should enter the vocabulary. He spoke for a half hour, but he was very Harris. Not harassed, just Harris. Or if you will, he gave very Kamala answers. I think it should enter the vocabulary. I played for you yesterday when she was asked, are people better off today than 4 years ago? And then she spoke about how she was raised by her mother in the middle class. Hello, everybody. Dennis Prager with you. God, I have so much to report to you, but I still think it is worth reviewing some of the debate. Because I have so many more excerpts that are worthy of comment. So what there is one we could skip here, Sean. Let's go to let's see, are we theoretically up to 18? Is that correct? I mean, I'm 27. Yes, that's right. So yes, correct. All right, let's go to 28.
But one of those, David, one of those people are going to be prosecuted. One of the people that burned down Minneapolis is going to be prosecuted. Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. One of those people are going to be prosecuted.
You know, he didn't do nearly as good a job as I wanted. But he made so many excellent points. He doesn't know which points to italicize. Because, first of all, he speaks in the same tone no matter what he says. So you don't know what is more significant and what is less significant. That's very significant. Who did more damage, the J6ers or the rioters in Seattle and in Minneapolis and other cities? And remember how the medical authorities, who were so adamant that you had to keep 6 feet distant and wear masks, they were okay with people demonstrating in the tens of thousands? Well, because racism is a health crisis. That's what they said. It's a very sad thing that young Americans, thoughtful young Americans, forget the shallow ones, thoughtful young Americans, unlike any Americans most Americans anyway, who ever grew up in this country, they don't have a single institution. There are organizations, there are individuals, but they don't have an institution to trust. I don't know what that is like. Even 15 years ago, forget when I grew up. God, if the American Medical Association, the American Bar Association, Harvard, if any of these places came out with something, it was taken so seriously. I took it seriously. I don't know about the Harvard. I was at Columbia in the 70s, and I knew what a farce it was. But nevertheless, every institution, because the left destroys everything it touches, that is the most important thing you need to know about life since the world since 1917, the Russian Revolution. Everything the left touches, it destroys. It does essentially nothing good, which is a very tough thing to achieve. Every horrible institution has done some good. Liberals have done a lot of good, but leftists have done no good. They don't know what to trust. You watch cities burned, you watch businesses destroyed, you watch precincts burned down like in Seattle, and then zones of occupation by sick, pathologic young people, truly sick, frightening people. These are the type that would have joined the Hitler Youth or the Communist Youth League if they were in Germany or Russia, respectively. And nothing happens. In fact, she created a fund to help bail out people arrested in Minneapolis. So he raised a rather important point, Donald Trump did. Let's go to 29. Question from the more I covered this, the more I realized the MCs were so irresponsible, especially him. So irresponsible, interjecting themselves into the debate. It was effectively 3 against 1. Go ahead.
Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
Yes or no. That's really something. Yes or no. Did they give a yes or no question to Kamala Harris? No. Yes or no is a prosecutor, not a moderator. Number 30.
I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs.
That is exactly right. But no New York Times reader, Washington Post reader, CNN watcher knows this. That's exactly correct. He asked for 10,000 National Guard at the Capitol in Washington, and they didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? It's an extremely significant question. Extremely. So listen to the moderator. What is his name? David Muir? How do you pronounce his name? I've never heard of the guy before this. Muir? Really? You sure? David Muir, okay? Listen to what his reaction is.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi.
What a phony demagogue he turns out to be. He gave the answer. I wanted National Guardsmen to guard the place. Is this a guy who really wants to overthrow the government? The guy who wants National Guardsmen to guard the country's capital? It's really angering. Gotta say, really angering. The question was about you, not Nancy Pelosi. This guy is so arrogant it is beyond belief. They all are on the left. We can do whatever we want. Rules don't apply to us. The honor of our profession, the dignity of journalism, is a non-issue to us. The question was not about Nancy Pelosi. Yes, it was, in fact. If she is part of the answer, then the question was about her. Whew. And then he immediately goes to Kamala Harris. He doesn't let Donald Trump respond. Here's another corker. Go ahead.
On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
Okay, so there's a list. I don't know who put it out, but it was effective. I checked it out. Of all the lies she told. Like the Charlottesville lie. Some died that day. Some officers died. You know what she would say? She would say, no, they didn't die that day. They died in the course of time afterwards. So none died that day. Remember the story about Officer Sicknick, who was hit by a protester with a fire extinguisher? Never happened. No officers were killed that day. But an officer shot dead one of the protesters who, at worst, broke glass. Can you imagine if every protester over George Floyd who broke glass would have been shot to death? Just imagine. Was one in the whole country? When the media are on your side, masses of people will believe anything. That is the greatest single lesson that I did not know when I was younger. That you can brainwash people in a free country. I thought you could only brainwash people in a totalitarian state. I was wrong about that. 140 died, really. And that's what half of America believes. The half that never hears a show like this. The half that never reads National Review or Breitbart or watches a PragerU video or has their kid in TPUSA. They don't know any of this.